After being in a relationship for 10 years, he never showed any intention of getting married. So I decided to break up with him. Smack. The crisp sound of a slap echoed in the air, and I was instantly enveloped in pain. Linda, you've been pestering York for 10 years. Do you really plan to cling to him for the rest of your life? I didn't cover my face but just quietly listened to Charlie's full-blown accusations. Yes, how many decades does a person have in their life? I fell in love with York when I first met him at the age of 16. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. He had taken everything from me, yet he hadn't even given me a proper status. You're really shameless. If York could actually marry you, would you have had to wait until now? Charlie's brother is York's good friend, and they could be considered childhood sweethearts. She had come to taunt me more than once, claiming that I had taken her place. In her eyes, I was a complete homewrecker. And an extremely unqualified one at that. You, the daughter of a small restaurant owner, actually have the nerve to want to marry into the York family? The York family runs a chain of restaurants and has branches all over the country. Their conditions are indeed quite good. I was born in a remote small town, and my family owns a small local cuisine restaurant near a scenic area. Logically speaking, York and I should never have had any interaction in our lives. People like you are really pitiful. Day after day of waiting had made Charlie's resentment grow stronger. Ever since the people around York learned about his relationship with me, none of them had been nice to me. Especially Charlie. Whenever York wasn't at home, she would look for opportunities to come and make a scene. And York had never said a single word to comfort me because of this. During those 10 years, he was getting busier and busier with his career, leaving me very little time. More importantly, he had never verbally responded to my love. I glanced at the small villa in the prime location where I had been living day and night, and I only felt desolate and lonely. Perhaps it was time for me to leave. Do you really want York that much? What? Charlie was taken aback. All right, there's no time like the present. I'll dump him today. What kind of trick are you playing again? I don't believe you'll actually. I looked at Charlie's doubtful eyes and gave a helpless smile. She wanted me to leave so badly, but when I said I would, she didn't believe me. So hypocritical and pitiful. Under Charlie's probing gaze, I naturally took out my phone. I dialed the number that I knew by heart and quietly listened to the ringing tone in my ear. Soon, the man on the other end picked up the phone. Hello? His voice was as magnetic and pleasant as always. York, let's break up. Without waiting for York's reply, I hung up the phone right after I said that. The grievances of the past 10 years, along with my letting go, would from now on remain only in my own memories. After that day, I canceled my WeChat account. Because I needed to unbind some apps, I picked up the phone card that I had already taken out long ago. A series of message notification sounds popped up. There were no messages or calls from York. I gave a self-deprecating smile. After pausing for a moment, I started the unbinding process on my own. I had only unbound half of the apps when the phone suddenly rang, and York's name appeared on the screen. My hand hovered in midair. The other side waited until the 60-second ringing ended. Soon, York's call came in again. He kept calling, but I still didn't answer. After 4 or 5 calls of this stalemate, I received a text message from York. Answer the phone. Just 3 short words, but I seemed to sense an anger that I had never felt before. I curled my lips into a smile and decisively pulled out the card, and the world instantly became quiet. Actually, it wasn't entirely his fault. After all, I had often played the boy who cried wolf game before, hoping to force him into marriage. When I graduated from university. On the day I got my postgraduate qualification. After I gave myself completely to him. Each time, when I thought he would seriously sort out our relationship, he would only say casually, "Be good. Wait a little longer." Being as poor as I was, even following York without a proper status was already a great honor. That Linda, she's just got a pretty face. After all, York is just playing with her. I had heard similar taunts countless times. Among them, Charlie, with the best family background, was the most radical. She always thought that I was in the way of her marrying York. Little did she know that I myself had never even seen the end of that path. York's figure was so imposing that it blocked the path of my fantasies completely, leaving not even a tiny gap to sneak through. But this time, I completely changed my path. With a casual flick of my hand, I threw that small SIM card into the garbage bag. 1 month later. The summer night breeze was particularly refreshing, just like my mood after leaving York. Not far away, I already saw Zeal standing at the entrance, blushing as he greeted me. He was my new colleague. I had joined an editorial department a week ago. Today, just before a meeting, my computer suddenly malfunctioned. All my materials were on the computer, and I was sweating profusely with anxiety. Just when I thought I would be criticized, Zeal, who was a technician, helped me fix it. After the meeting went smoothly, I originally wanted to buy a cup of milk tea to thank him. But then I saw Zeal shyly scratching his head. After struggling for a while, he finally blurted out, Can we have dinner together tonight?" Looking at that familiar shy face, I somehow agreed, "Sorry, I didn't know you'd arrive so early." "It's okay." We followed the waiter into the restaurant. This was a French restaurant. In the elegant environment, there were young men and women sitting opposite each other everywhere. The desserts in this restaurant are especially delicious. "You'll definitely be surprised later," Zeal kindly recommended to me. I just smiled without saying a word. Actually, I had been to this restaurant before. It was just that it must have been almost closing time back then. There was only York and I in the whole restaurant. Ironically, it turned out that adapting to a life without York wasn't really that difficult. "York, you're so mean. I've been asking you out for half a month, and you're only willing to meet me now." A coquettish female voice came, sounding somewhat familiar. "I thought the person who asked me out was your brother." The man who replied had a low tone, with a hint of dissatisfaction mixed in his indifference. I didn't even need to look up to guess who the speaker was. Why was York here? "Charlie, I warn you, this is the last time." With that, York stretched his long legs and stood up. He turned around too quickly. I couldn't even dodge in time. Bang! I bumped into his arms. "Linda, are you okay?" With Zeal's call, the atmosphere of a showdown was immediately created. "Linda, what are you doing here?" Charlie also stood up. After seeing clearly that it was me, she stomped her foot angrily. York's hand quickly grabbed my arm. The force wasn't strong, but it was enough to hold my body that wanted to escape. His hawk-like eyes glanced contemptuously at Zeal and then fell back on me. "Is this the reason you didn't go home?" "Go home?" He and I were just strangers sharing the same living space. There was no such thing as a home. I mocked in my heart, but quickly calmed my emotions. "Long time no see." "Huh?" York once again looked back and forth between Zeal and me, and then he carelessly let go of me and left with a contemptuous smile. Charlie had no choice but to follow him. I pretended not to care and walked towards the seat led by the waiter on my own. After sitting down, there was a moment of silence. I picked up the menu and pretended to be calm. I could even sense Zeal's confused gaze lingering on me. Fortunately, he was quite considerate and didn't continue to probe into this issue with me. "Are you two a couple? It's almost Chishi Festival. Couples dining here today can get a 50% discount and also get free desserts." Soon, after we ordered the meals, the waiter enthusiastically broke the silence. But it made the atmosphere even more awkward. Zeal lowered his head slightly, and his side face turned slightly to peek at me. I looked at the figure on the bill. This place wasn't cheap, and the discount for this event was quite substantial. Obviously, it was an easy question. "Linda." Zeal blushed, casting an expectant gaze at me while still respecting my answer. "Okay, thank you." I responded gently, giving the waiter a positive reply. Zeal's eyes brightened a bit, and he then nodded vigorously and handed the menu to the waiter. "Thank you." The waiter gave a knowing smile and left the space to us. "Are you two a couple? We have a special offer today for..." Not far away, I heard the waiter introduce again. Only this time, it was for York and Charlie. Charlie looked expectant, while York, on the other hand, still had a cold face. "I wonder if your friend will participate?" Zeal didn't know how to address York, so he euphemistically used the words, "your friend," to refer specifically to him. I smiled faintly and changed the topic. You just said the desserts here are delicious. Do you like desserts very much? Not really. Zeal's handsome face blushed even more. I just felt that you would like them. Hearing Zeal's stammered words, I was startled. We had only been working together for a week, and he already knew that I liked desserts. I lowered my head. My conversation with Zeal made me miss the dialogue between York and the waiter. I used to think that as long as York was around, my eyes would always follow him, and all my attention would be on him. But now, I didn't care about anything regarding York and Charlie. I didn't even know when they had left. After dinner, Zeal accompanied me gentlemanly to hail a taxi on the roadside. With the gentle breeze blowing, I thanked Zeal politely. Actually, you don't need to be so polite with me. We've known each other for a long time already. Zeal's face flushed slightly. He adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose. His face had been blushing shyly all night. I was a bit confused. Do you still remember the postgraduate exchange meeting at Jiaotong University? As Zeal recounted the story, it brought back memories that I hadn't paid much attention to. What he was talking about should be an academic activity I participated in during my college days to earn credits. I really wanted to get to know you back then. Unfortunately, you seemed really busy. It was so hard to ask you out. I was a bit taken aback and froze slightly. Actually, I wasn't busy back then. I just gave all my time to another person. Actually, I'm really grateful to meet you in the company. Grateful? I didn't understand why Zeal would use such a profound word. The next second, he revealed the reason. Linda, can I court you? I missed you in college. This time, I really don't want to miss you again. As he was speaking, light rain began to fall from the sky, bit by bit. I got a bit flustered. Seeing an empty taxi in front, I immediately reached out to hail it. It's raining. I'll go back first. I have an umbrella here. Here you go. After getting into the taxi, I hurriedly handed the folding umbrella in my bag to Zeal. Take it. The subway station isn't far from here. Perhaps sensing my uneasiness and eagerness to escape, Zeal wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he looked relieved after saying what was on his mind. Then he closed the car door for me. Through the window, I watched Zeal's figure standing in the rain. He was still smiling a bit shyly, his eyes fixed on my car. As the rain curtain grew heavier, he then turned and ran towards the subway station. Looking at his receding figure, I seemed to see myself in the past. Then, I thought of York. Tonight, York's eyes seemed ordinary, but there was a hint of suppressed anger in them. A bad premonition came over me. Perhaps, breaking up wasn't as simple as I had imagined. Due to my tight income, I rented a small and old apartment. The shabby stairwell still used voice-activated lights. I had to shout every time I climbed a floor. Ha! Ho! While shouting to light up the stairs, I was also giving myself courage. Hey! Just as I climbed to the top floor, a force hit me, accurately locking me in his arms in the darkness. I was so scared that I started to struggle, but the man's domineering kiss blocked all my words. Linda, it's me. His taste filled my mouth, and an ambiguous atmosphere spread in the air. My body was pressed against the wall by him, and York's hand slipped into my clothes. He was acting anxiously, as if venting accusations other than longing. York's flexible finger explored towards me, about to break through the final line of defense. I knew that this meant he couldn't hold back anymore. Let go. Taking advantage of York's vulnerable moment of being lost in passion, I bit his lip hard. The already dark stairwell lit up again. There was blood on the corner of his mouth, and my clothes were in disarray. You've got some nerve. He looked at me provocatively, too lazy to wipe the blood. I quickly straightened my clothes, my face flushed with shame and anger. York didn't care. He leaned against my door and glanced at it, completely overpowering me. You open it or I do. I reluctantly took out my keys and unlocked the door. Once inside, York didn't look happy at all. You left me just to live here? York, it's none of your business. I turned my head, interrupting York's comments about me, but he grabbed me again like I was a little chick. Only this time, he pinned me down on the sofa. On the single small sofa, York firmly held my slender waist. York, let me go. My repeated refusals completely enraged York. Linda, is this your new trick? Perhaps losing his interest, York finally let me go. He stretched his long legs and leaned back on the sofa. Is it because I postponed the wedding date again before going on a business trip? From start to finish, York was looking down on me arrogantly. No. Facing York's anxiety, I actually felt a bit relieved. What disappointed me was the accumulation of the past 10 years, not his postponing of the wedding date or Charlie's slap. York, being such a proud person, would never care about any of my thoughts. York, in the past, I always thought that you were just a bit slow to warm up. As long as I worked hard, I would eventually win you over one day. Until today, after seeing Zeal, I finally realized one thing. But actually, if you don't like someone, you just don't. You can't force it. You should have rejected me long ago. After all, I'm not that shameless. In the end, it was just because York had never treated me as an equal. Everyone else could see it clearly, but I was the only one who was stupid enough. Before I could finish speaking, York tightly gripped my chin. Do you like that guy today? York's breath was right in front of me, and I could even see the angry veins on his face so clearly. My silence seemed to be taken as an admission in York's eyes. A little programmer. You really have good taste. It seemed that York had not only investigated me. I looked directly into his intimidating eyes and said word by word, he's no worse than you. Linda, do you know what you're saying? Of course I do. It's just that you'll never understand. I had never praised anyone in front of York. I had spoiled him. His pride wouldn't allow him to entangle with me anymore. York stood up and left only a resolute back. Bang! The door was tightly shut. York was so proud. With this departure, it was a complete break. The nerves that had been tense just now instantly relaxed, and I fell onto the place where he had been leaning just now. The warmth of his back was still there, giving a faint warmth to my cheek. Once upon a time, these little things were enough to comfort my heart. But now, they were of no use. Since that day, I had more contact with Zeal. He never asked me again about whether he could court me. Because of him, I joined the classmate group and got back in touch with many people. My uncle had been suffering from liver cirrhosis for some years, and recently his ascites had become severe. I just casually mentioned it during a call with my parents, and Zeal actually took the initiative to book an expert appointment for me. To avoid any complications, I found a new apartment not long after and planned to move out completely. Zeal took the initiative to help me contact reliable tenants, greatly improving my living environment. Life was getting better little by little. I knew that I was getting better myself too. I don't know if it was because I ate hot pot the day before or if the work had been a bit tough these days. The next day, I had a sore throat and couldn't speak at all. Seeing this, the editor-in-chief gave me a few instructions and then gave me a leave. I was half asleep for half a day before I was completely woken up by a rapid knock on the door mixed with the ringing of the phone. As soon as I opened the door, I saw Zeal's anxious face. Why didn't you answer the phone? I was so worried. This time, he wasn't reserved anymore. After entering the house, he was busy here and there until he confirmed that I had seen a doctor and taken the medicine. Then he calmed down. Go and have a sleep. I'll cook something for you to eat. He pushed me away from the kitchen and asked me to have a good rest. He left a crack in the bedroom door so that I could call him if needed. Through the narrow crack, I watched his actions smoothly. Washing the dishes, turning on the stove, peeling a pear. Once upon a time, I was the one who did all those things. And the one who enjoyed everything never knew how to cherish. The pear water is ready. Drink it while it's hot. Zeal was holding an enamel bowl, carefully blowing on the hot steam for me. The body is the capital of revolution. Only when you have a healthy one, can you add countless zeros behind it. Zeal was like an old grandpa, chatting away to me. Suddenly, he hurriedly put down the enamel bowl and turned around to sneeze. Only then did I remember that it had been the rainy season recently. There were only his sneakers at the entrance. It seemed that he didn't bring an umbrella. He was really like a little kid. Once he took a liking to someone, he would be silly enough to be nice to that person. I didn't know how many more people like him I would meet. Zeal, about that thing you mentioned last time, actually I've been seriously considering it. I can give you an answer right now. I was being so honest, but instead, he didn't dare to look at me. You're sick. We can talk about it another day. He was being evasive, and his voice was getting quieter and quieter. I knew that Zeal was avoiding it, just like I used to. Because he didn't want to hear the real answer. Yes, I wanted to gently reject Zeal. Precisely because he was so nice, I couldn't hurt him. Although I had no feelings for York now, and I'd also heard from friends that the way to quickly end a relationship was to start a new one as soon as possible. However, I wasn't that bored or immoral. Zeal, I'm sore, drink the pear water first. Before I could even finish saying sorry, Zeal had already smiled and gently stopped me from speaking. Do you know what I was going to say? I only know that the pear water won't taste good when it gets cold. What would you like to eat later? I'll cook you a bowl of noodles. I'm quite good at cooking noodles. Zeal reached out and ruffled my hair, then turned and went into the kitchen. Considerate, kind, and gentle. I smiled. He was taking care of me like I was a child. Actually, the more I got to know Zeal, the more I realized one thing. He was different from how I used to be. I was being stubbornly obsessed, while he was gently carrying a boom. There was a huge thunderclap outside the window. Big raindrops started to patter against the glass. I checked the weather forecast, and it said the rain would get heavier. The atmosphere seemed to have changed a bit. Zeal was still busy in the kitchen. I was a bit worried. He didn't bring an umbrella. How was he going to leave later? Was he going to stay here for the night? But then, Zeal brought the cooked noodles to the dining table. He also thoughtfully prepared the chopsticks and bowls, tomato and egg noodles. They smelled really good. Linda, wait for the noodles to cool down before you eat them. And don't take the medicine until half an hour after you finish eating. Remember this, so that you can get better faster. I just took a call. I have something to do later. I have to go first. His lie was too clumsy. I hadn't even heard a single ringtone. Listening to the rumbling thunder and rain outside, several concerns grew in my heart. As if seeing what was on my mind, Zeal took the initiative to come forward and gently patted my head. Don't worry. This much rain won't be a problem for me. After saying that, he walked towards the door. When he reached the front door, he paused as he grasped the doorknob. His back was turned to me. Although I couldn't see his face clearly, his voice was especially low and serious. To be honest, after seeing him at the restaurant last time, I went to inquire about your relationship with him. I'm sorry. I didn't ask for your permission for this, laugh at me if you want, but I was really jealous of him. Then, Zeal turned his head. His eyes were firm as he said each word clearly and forcefully. Linda, no matter what your final choice is, promise me that you'll love yourself first. You're so nice. You deserve the best happiness in the world. The hand holding the pear water was a bit unsteady, and suddenly my eyes became a bit wet. Love myself first. I deserve the best happiness in the world. Before this, no one had ever told me this. Falling in love with York, in these past 10 years, I had lost not only my youth but also myself. But at this moment, a man named Zeal helped me get it back. After saying that, before I could say anything, Zeal directly left in the rain without even taking an umbrella. The next day, when I was feeling a bit better and went back to the company, Zeal had taken sick leave. I heard from the technical department that Zeal was quite ill. He had a bad cold and a high fever of 39.2 degrees. There was no need to think. It must have been from getting caught in the rain. I felt bad about it. I sent him several messages but got no reply. Before I could go to visit him, Zeal showed up at the company on time that afternoon, wearing an N95 mask. Why are you here? His face was still a bit pale, and he looked weak. I'm almost better, so I came to work. Zeal pretended to be relaxed and joked with me, but my expression became even more serious. Zeal, you only rested for half a day. How could you possibly be better? As if seeing that I was really angry, Zeal immediately dropped his joking manner and said truthfully, I was afraid you'd worry if I didn't come to the company. He was right. I was really worried. After all, it had always been him taking care of my emotions. But I felt even worse in my heart. After that, my contact with Zeal became even more frequent. During the small holiday, my parents were very worried when they learned that I had broken up with York. They strongly demanded that I go home. I couldn't refuse, but the tickets were already sold out. Knowing that I didn't get a ticket, Zeal volunteered to drive me home. Along the way, unlike York, who was rigid and liked quiet, Zeal was funny and humorous, and the atmosphere was very harmonious. Under his influence, my originally heavy mood about going to see my parents also became a bit lighter. After all, during these 10 years of blindly loving York, I had made my parents worry. As soon as we arrived at my doorstep, Zeal, who was helping me with my luggage, was seen by my uncle. "Oh, isn't this the young man who helped me last time?" My uncle enthusiastically grabbed Zeal and insisted on inviting him to stay for dinner. I couldn't stop him. I groaned inwardly. At the dinner table, my parents also chatted casually with Zeal, and the atmosphere was really good. "Linda, this Zeal is a really nice person. You should hold on to him." After Zeal left, my family gave him unanimous praise. It was also because of him that the expected low pressure at home didn't happen at all. Instead, it was a happy and harmonious atmosphere. I couldn't help but laugh, but I actually started to feel a bit proud inside. It seemed that my heart had really changed. After returning to the company, the relationship between me and Zeal had a subtle change. Zeal still cared about me as before, and I started to accept it. "It's probably going to rain later. Take a taxi to go back." That day, Zeal had clearly told me before I got off work, but I still got caught in the rain. Standing at the entrance of the subway station to avoid the rain, I took out my phone to hail a taxi on the app. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was York. This time, I didn't run away. "Linda, haven't you had enough of making a fuss?" As soon as he opened his mouth, it was the York-style judgment. "You've even learned to find a man to provoke me? Linda, I've lost my patience to play this boring game with you. Isn't it just about getting married? You can set the wedding date yourself. As for the ring, the chapel, whatever you like." I didn't know if it was my illusion, but York on the other end of the phone seemed really angry and frustrated, completely different from the cold man he usually was. A confused face like a black question mark flashed through my mind. I probably looked like that right now. Unfortunately, York was talking too fast, and I couldn't interrupt him. "But Linda, I have only one requirement. Break up with that man immediately. My patience has limits." His patience has limits? Well, my 10 years of patience was like feeding the dogs. I found it even more ridiculous. "York, yes, I loved you for 10 years. Taking a deep breath, I finally said all the words that had been buried in my heart. "But that was because I thought you would eventually respond to me. 10 years. Congratulations to me for finally seeing clearly. York, actually, you only loved the Linda who would come running whenever you called and always put you first. And I don't want to be that obedient tool anymore." A gust of wind blew, mixed with rain. I didn't know if it was mixed with my tears, but I knew that I had never been more awake than now. And obviously, I was the only one who was awake. "Linda, you've just gone out and got carried away. That Zeal can't even afford a decent Mercedes. What can he give you? Only by marrying me can you live the life you want." Listening to York's definition of me, the last bit of warmth in my heart disappeared completely. It was all in vain after all. "The life I want?" I murmured, with endless sarcasm in my words. Countless past scenes flashed through my mind. It seemed that my calmness made York visibly panicked. He on the other end of the phone started to ask me recklessly, "Linda, what do you mean? The life I want is not getting slapped by Charlie in humiliation. It's not enduring the humiliation of others because of so-called love, having no dignity, and living a life worse than a dog. Nor is it wasting 10 years of my life and still making my parents worry about me now." "What did you say?" York's shock didn't seem to be fake. Unexpectedly, I calmly hung up the phone. Seeing that no driver had accepted the order on the app, I just ran straight in the direction of home. For a child without an umbrella, running is the best option. During the run, my phone in my bag kept vibrating. There was no need to look, it must be York calling. He was probably just going to explain that he knew nothing about it. York was always like that. It was always someone else's fault and had nothing to do with him. As the saying goes, belated affection is cheaper than grass. And it couldn't be more true. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. Soon my clothes were soaked through. Before I could even run across the road, I was suddenly pulled into the arms of a man behind me. Just as I was about to struggle, I looked up and saw that it was Zeal holding an umbrella. He looked a bit anxious. Seeing that I was drenched like a drowned rat, he immediately tilted the umbrella towards me. As a result, I was shielded from the rain, but his back got wet quickly. "Why are you here?" Fortunately, with the sound of the rain, Zeal couldn't detect the slightest choke in my voice. "I was afraid you couldn't get a taxi and would get wet in the rain." Zeal's words were matter of fact, and he was a bit out of breath. He must have run all the way here. My eyes quickly became red. He was always like a ray of light, appearing in front of me when I needed him most. "Let's go. I'll take you home." Zeal said it very naturally, and the umbrella in his hand continued to tilt towards me eccentrically. The rain was so heavy that not only his back but also his left shoulder got wet this time. However, he still maintained a certain distance from me in a gentlemanly manner. My heart ached for him. I wiped the rain and tears off my face and took the initiative to reach out and hold his arm, pulling him gently towards me. "Okay." This was the first time I had taken the initiative to get close to him since we met. Zeal seemed to be caught off guard by my move. His ears turned red all the way to the tips, and his walking posture visibly became stiff. I couldn't help but chuckle, and my hand holding his arm tightened even more. When we got home, both of us were drenched like drowned rats. Because we were wearing thin clothes, after getting wet in the rain, the clothes clung to our bodies, and I could even clearly see the color of the lace on my underwear. Zeal quickly and awkwardly turned his head away. I blushed a bit, but soon I noticed Zeal's body outline. I didn't expect that although he looked thin, his build was actually quite muscular. My blush deepened even more. "Do you have ginger at home? I'll make you some ginger soup. You go take a bath quickly." Zeal quickly walked towards the kitchen, not bothering to take care of himself at all. I knew this wasn't the time to be polite. I quickly went to the bathroom to take a shower, and then took out my largest t-shirt and handed it to Zeal, who was busy in the kitchen. "You go take a bath too. You can't get a fever again. There's a hair dryer in the bathroom. I'll watch the ginger soup on the stove." "No, it's just a little rain. I'm fine." Zeal was a bit embarrassed and nervously scratched his head. I curved my lips and, after making a silent decision in my heart, simply stuffed the t-shirt into his hands. "Zeal, do you remember the question from last time? I'll answer you now." "What?" This time, Zeal was clearly caught off guard by me, and his voice even trembled a bit. "No need to chase anymore. Starting from today, no, starting from now, I, Linda, officially become your girlfriend, Zeal." I successfully saw the complex facial expression on Zeal's face, with shock, doubt, and pleasant surprise all mixed together. To be honest, it was a bit cute, but it didn't affect his handsomeness at all. As for me, although my heart was pounding like a drum with nervousness, I still pretended to be casual and pointed to my lips. "Do you want to put a stamp on it?" Zeal's face turned bright red all of a sudden, even his ears were burning. I could feel his muscles tensing up under the high tension. Just when I thought something might happen in this situation, he lowered his head and walked towards the bathroom, stuttering, "I'll go take a bath first." I couldn't help but laugh. I didn't take it to heart and just continued to stir the ginger soup with my head down. When Zeal appeared wearing my large t-shirt, I couldn't help but laugh unkindly. I don't know if it was the natural difference in bone structure between men and women or if he was just one of those guys who looked thin when dressed but had a great muscular body when undressed. That shirt on him was like a tight-fitting garment, wrapping around his muscles, smooth and powerful. It was even more stimulating to the nerves than the wet look just now. "The shirt is a bit small, but it's the loosest one I have," I explained, trying to hold back my laughter. "It's not bad." Zeal smiled shyly and tugged at the corners of his shirt a few times. I thought that after taking a bath, the redness on his face would fade a bit, but it got even redder instead. Drink it quickly. Don't get a fever again after getting wet in the rain. Just as I was handing the ginger soup to him, Zeal grabbed my hand, looking serious. Linda, I haven't answered your question from just now. What? I didn't react for a moment to this out of the blue question. I want to. Put a stamp on it. The next second, Zeal gently pulled my hand into his arms, lowered his head, and lightly pecked my lips. A fresh scent that belonged only to him filled my nostrils. He kissed me, a solemn and serious kiss. It made me feel, in a trance, like I was a precious treasure that needed to be carefully held in the palm of his hand. My heart was still pounding wildly when he pulled away. I didn't put a stamp on it just now because I hadn't taken a bath and was dirty. I was afraid of getting you dirty. Zeal explained gently, being as honest and serious as a child. My reflection was in his eyes, pure and sincere. I smiled. Under the influence of my smile, his nervousness and awkwardness gradually dissipated quite a bit. Then, he also started to grin like a child. After drinking the ginger soup, the rain outside was getting heavier and heavier. I checked the weather forecast and saw that it was going to rain all night. Looking at Zeal, who was washing the dishes in the kitchen, I kindly suggested, "Don't go back tonight." What? Zeal was a bit surprised and almost dropped the porcelain bowl in his hand. I was calm and composed, tilting my chin up and saying matter-of-factly, "You're my boyfriend now. Isn't it normal for you to stay overnight at your girlfriend's place?" The sound of running water continued. Zeal seemed to be doing some mental preparation. After hesitating for a long time, he looked up at me, his eyes gentle. "Okay, I'll listen to my girlfriend." Those 3 words, girlfriend, were really exciting. That night. Actually, it could have been even more wonderful. It was just that my double sofa at home was too small. Zeal could only curl up on it, covered with my pink cartoon blanket and using the big pineapple pillow. He had a smile on his face, a smile on his lips, and even his eyebrows were curved up. I laughed when I saw his sleeping face. His happiness was all for me. How could it not be exciting? When I went back to my room, I found that my phone was ringing. It was York. He had called more than a dozen times, and then there were text messages. I don't know where York got my new mobile phone number from. But when he wanted to do something, he would always go to any lengths. "Linda, answer the phone. I want to talk to you. I didn't know about Charlie going to see you, but I can guarantee you that something like this will never happen again. Linda, don't be childish. I don't believe you would leave me for such a man. I'm sorry. It was all my fault in the past. I don't want to lose you." The phone was still ringing, with text messages and calls bombarding me alternately. I decisively turned off the phone and threw it aside. What was wrong with York today? Such a proud and conceited person would actually take the initiative to explain and apologize to me. I wouldn't have dared to imagine this before. However, belated affection is like a cotton-padded jacket in summer or a palm leaf fan in winter. It may be good, but I don't care about it anymore. The next day, Zeal and I held hands and went to work. The whole office was in an uproar. "It's only been a few days. You two are already making it official. You must treat us to dinner tonight." Good for you, Zeal. You're a lucky guy. To be honest, the way Zeal takes care of Linda is so touching that I'm even moved. My colleagues were chatting away. We were just holding hands, and they were already imagining having children and being godmothers. I smiled, and my heart felt like a warm April day. Zeal blushed under the teasing of his colleagues but held my hand tightly and never let go. During the lunch break, the receptionist said someone was looking for me. "Linda, what have you done to York? Do you know that he stood in the rain all night downstairs at your place last night? He has a high fever now and is still lying in the hospital. Is your phone broken or your brain? Why didn't you answer the phone? This is the way you seduce men. It's really cheap. I knew it wouldn't be that easy for you to break up with York." I had just gotten off the elevator when Charlie started yelling at me, pointing her finger at my nose. I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she looked even more haggard and wretched than I remembered. I'd witnessed such scenes many times before, so I wasn't at all surprised. However, what York had done did make me a bit astonished, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. I listened calmly until the end, then suddenly raised my hand and slapped her hard. The slap was so forceful that my palm felt numb and painful. Linda, you. In Charlie's eyes, I had always been an easy target, someone who would never retort when being scolded or fight back when being hit. Charlie, I'm giving you back the exact words you used to scold me before. Are you still planning to shamelessly chase after York for the rest of your life? You clung to him when he had a girlfriend, and now you're picking on his ex-girlfriend after he's single? Charlie was so stunned that she couldn't say a word, just glaring at me while covering half of her face. Stop wallowing in your own pity. After saying this, I felt a lot more relieved about the past events related to Charlie. Actually, Charlie was just a pitiful person too. I don't know if some of my words had stung Charlie, but her eyes suddenly became red. And Zeal, having heard the news from the reception, quickly rushed down. Seeing Charlie there, he immediately pulled me into his arms, shielding me. What's going on? Looking at Zeal being so protective, I gently patted his shoulder and said softly, "It's nothing." Charlie stared at me and Zeal's affectionate appearance in shock, her voice trembling. Are you two together? Yes. I replied casually. Charlie seemed to be in a daze, murmuring, "No wonder he stood guard downstairs at your place all night yesterday. I'm so ridiculous." So it turns out that I'm the most ridiculous one. It turns out that the person he loves the most is you. I should have realized it that day in the restaurant when he told the waiter that I was just a friend. York is just like that. People he doesn't like are always just passing through, and he won't even spare them a second glance. I was too lazy to respond to Charlie's words. Actually, the person York loves the most should be himself. Now it's just that my choice has greatly hurt his pride, nothing more. Charlie left. This farce came to an abrupt end. Although Charlie didn't say anything, I knew she wouldn't come to find me again. After all, she used to be a proud person too. It was 2 weeks later when I received York's call again. Zeal was patiently removing the veins from the shrimp in the kitchen. His back looked really good. After falling in love, like most couples, we went shopping, ate out, watched movies together. When we had time, we'd buy groceries and cook at home. Knowing that I love shrimp, he would go to the wet market early on weekends to pick the freshest ones. And I would be munching on chips while watching variety shows when he was busy. It would be a lie to say it wasn't sweet. As a result, I've put on some weight recently. York's phone kept ringing. I didn't avoid it but answered it directly. Linda, I don't know if it's too late to say sorry now. York's voice on the other end of the phone was a bit hoarse. After a while, he murmured, I really can't lose you. I was wrong. I want to marry you. We've been together for 10 years. No one could love you more than I do. York seemed a bit out of character, while I was gradually finding myself again. York, that night, you stood downstairs at my place all night. Why didn't you come up to find me? My calmness seemed to have broken down York's defenses. He was silent, and all I could hear was his rapid breathing on the other end of the phone. I pursed my lips and gave the answer for York. Given your personality, you should have come straight up to grab me. But you didn't. You were afraid. Afraid that the feelings between Zeal and me were real, afraid that I really didn't love you anymore. York, let yourself go. Let me go too. Actually, you don't love me that much. Soon, there were muffled sobs from York on the other end of the phone, along with self-mockery, bitter laughter, and many other sounds intertwined. But I didn't have the mood to savor them carefully. I only knew that the past between me and York was completely over. The sound of stir-frying in the hot oil came from the kitchen. Soon, the aroma of shrimp wafted out. The hustle and bustle of daily life is the most soothing to the ordinary heart. Come and taste how the shrimp is. Oh, be careful, it's hot. Zeal brought the freshly cooked stir-fried shrimp with scallions to me. I looked up at him, sweating profusely, and burst out laughing. He always showed up at the right moment. He was like the warm April days in my life. I don't ask for much, and fortunately, he has everything I need. After lunch, Zeal sat beside me nervously, his face red, and said, Linda, I told my parents about our relationship. They want to video call and say hello to you. If you don't want to, it's okay. I didn't refuse. Instead, I tidied myself up nervously, sat upright beside Zeal with a red face, and watched as Zeal opened the video call solemnly. Mom, Dad, this is my girlfriend Linda. I like to call her Linda. Isn't she pretty? We're colleagues now. Linda is the most perfect girl I've ever seen in the world. She's beautiful, has a great personality, and is excellent at work. We're also alumni of Jiaotong University. Actually, I noticed Linda back in school. Mom, Dad, don't worry. I'll take good care of Linda. Linda's parents also like me a lot. Listening to this boy who held me dear to his heart turn into a chatterbox, praising me to the skies, I became even more nervous. Zeal's parents were both ordinary veteran employees of enterprises. They were very nice and amiable, and soon eased my nervousness. After hanging up the video call, I was so shy that I poked Zeal's chest with my finger, not too kindly. You just said my parents like you a lot? You're quite good at blowing your own trumpet, huh? Zeal then took the initiative to wrap his arms around my waist, allowing me to comfortably lean against his chest. Of course. It's not just my parents. My uncle likes me too. I've already booked an expert appointment for early next month. I'll pick up my uncle for a follow-up visit then and take my parents to visit the scenic spots around here. A week later, before driving back to my hometown to pick up my parents and uncle, Zeal specifically posted a WeChat moments. Even an ugly son-in-law has to meet his father-in-law.